So you're a mid to high handicapper looking to either break 100, 90 or 80. This video is going to be absolutely perfect. We're going to talk through some of the common mistakes I would see mid to high handicappers making, some simple solutions, and we're going to get those scores down so you can break 100, break 90 or break 80. Super easy to implement. We're going to cover some of these points just now, all on course, things you can do straight away which are going to lower your scores. So here are my suggestions for mid to high handicappers. Tip number one, too many people are using high lofted clubs when they don't need to. And basically what I mean with the high lofted clubs, they're in a position where it's pretty flat, there's no need to throw up the ball into the air, but they pull out the sand wedge or the lob wedge, which just brings in more margin for error. It makes it a little bit more difficult. A bad shot with a sand wedge or a gap wedge might end up being a little bit chunky, pulling up short of the green. The other bad shot could be a thin, and you could end up going through the other side. You've tried to lift it, you've thinned it through the back, and the bad shot is much more destructive than what a bad shot with a lower lofted club. So what we want to try and do, rather than trying to attempt the nice shot that we would see on a tour, throwing it up in the air, even that one wasn't that close. What we want to start trying to do is just using clubs when we can, using clubs like 7 iron, 8 iron, 9 iron. Much smaller swing, so much easier to get a good strike on the ball, and just the bad shots generally aren't quite as bad. So I'm going to try out 7 iron this time. And with that, it's obviously a very narrow stance. We've got 20 yards to go. The ball's slightly right of centre. We're holding down the handle. The weight stays left. And it's just a pendulum swing, not much on it whatsoever. Easy to strike. And the spin that we give up is ruled out by an improvement on how easy this shot is to play. So just try them out, try different clubs. You might like a 7, you might like a 9, you'll like a different trajectory, so just try them out, pick one, so you've at least got a lower lofted option for days where you're maybe not striking it so quite so good, especially in this one. So here we've got a 7 iron, and it's just a really simple shot to try and play. We can land it short of the green, we can let that ball release up to the flag, and it's ended up being very close with a tiny swing. So it might be a 7. You can try out 8 or 9. So I would try out this exercise and just go and practice, try some different clubs, see what works well for you, but get a low lofted option. So only difference we're going to have with that 8 iron, obviously it's still the same setup. We're still going narrow with the ball right of centre. We're still standing closer. This one's just going to have a touch more spin than the 7 iron, so it won't release quite as much. It's going to be slightly higher, and it didn't run out quite so much. Again, very small swing, very easy to strike. And then same with 9, we've just added a few more degrees of loft, slightly less spin. The landing spot's just going to be slightly closer to the flag because we're just not going to get quite as much run out, but it's the same technique. Go back and through. So similar idea with the 9, it's just going to go a little bit higher. Landing spot will be slightly closer to the pin and a bit more spin, so it won't run out quite as much as the 7 and the 8. So we'll set up, probably going to land that close to the fringe, and there'll be a little bit of release. So definitely try out lower lofted clubs. Most mid to high handicappers aren't using this shot enough, and your consistency of contact is going to be better, it's easier to play, and it's just a good option to have. So tip number 1, use lower lofted clubs round the greens. Tip 2 and 3 are actually about equipment choice. What I would always recommend, and I see it a lot, there's lots and lots of mid to high handicappers using 3 woods, 3 plus, using less loft with their fairway wood, and so many of my lessons are struggling with their fairway wood. They don't like them. So what I would suggest, if you can get your hands on one, would be to start playing with a easy to use 5 wood. So this one's really old, it's a P.G.A G5, it's actually still an excellent club, Ping G5, it's got 18 degrees on it, so anything around the 18 or 19 degree mark is going to give you that extra bit of loft, which makes it easier to launch up. The shaft's slightly shorter, so it's going to make it easier to make good contact. And because of that, the chances of you pulling out your 3-wood and starting to lean back on the shot, which is going to cause poor contact, reduces. So if you can get a slightly shorter, slightly more lofted, ditch that 3-wood, use something like a 5-wood, chances are you'll probably get more success. The contact will be more consistent and it'll be so much easier to launch the ball up in the air. You might even find it carries further than what your 3-wood does, purely because you can get it in the air, you can launch it higher, and because the shorter shaft and more loft, the contact's improved, so the ball speed jumps up despite this having more loft on it. So that would be my suggestion. Get more 5-woods if you struggle with the 3-wood. Ditch it, get something with more loft, get something with a shorter shaft. That's going to make it so much easier for you. Tip number 3, another piece of equipment advice: ditch all the long irons and replace them with hybrids. Too many people, in my opinion, have got 3 and 4 irons. Absolutely no need to have these in the bag. It will be so much easier if you're someone who struggles with your ball striking to get a hybrid in the bag. You hit them the exact same way, they're very, very similar. That extra bit of weight towards the back of the club, the bigger head, the bigger sweet spot, just going to make life a little bit easier for you. So if you're someone who does struggle with your long irons, I would recommend that you start looking to change those to hybrids. What you're probably going to find is, if you're using irons, they would tend to be slightly lower flighted. So yeah, I think in terms of your ball striking, it's going to be so much easier to start using hybrids. You're going to launch them higher. Irons are going to tend to go a bit lower. They're going to be much, much easier to get distance. And the height, if these are going to be second shot clubs, which most of the time they are, that stopping angle and height coming into the green is really going to help you out hold the greens, rather than a 4-iron coming in really flat and chasing on into the back. Rather than that really flat flight that's going to run through greens. So definitely recommend grabbing some hybrids. A couple of years ago, 3-iron was no more, replaced that with a hybrid, and since then it's just been so much easier to use. So get some hybrids in the bag, as many as you like, to make it easy. Get more launch, get more height, hit more greens, and then the scores are really going to start to come down. So tip number 4, and I see this happen all too often. We've placed our bag here, we're walking 20-30 yards back to the tee, and yes, I do not condone slow play. However, this is what I see a lot. Going in the bag, putting another couple of balls in the pocket, and off we go. So we've walked on the tee, we've got the ball, we've got 2 in the pocket, 1 in the pocket. Straight away, what kind of message is that? That's you thinking already, before you've even stepped up on the tee, you think you're going to hit a bad shot. You've got the extra couple of balls in the pocket. You go down, you're already starting to be a bit more negative. You've got the extra couple of golf balls in the pocket. You're starting to think about trouble. You're looking at the trees, you're looking at the out of bounds. You're looking about the potential bad shots that you could hit. And you know you've got that safety net behind. You know you don't have to run back to the bag. We really need to stop doing this, because this is really going to encourage some bad shots. So we're on the tee. We've got the extra ball or the extra 2 golf balls in the pocket. Right, okay, I think I might lose a ball here. Better just have 1 or 2 extras. Trees on the right, out of bounds on the left. You start looking at trouble rather than looking at what you want your ball to do. You start thinking about potential bad shots rather than visualising good shots. You should be on this tee going, right, okay, I can see that. This is my ball flight. It's going to be slightly right to left. I'm going to hit down the middle. Hopefully I hit it X distance. That's going to leave me 110 yards into the pin, and start to visualise good shots and start to build some confidence before you get to your tee shot, rather than extra ball in the pocket, look at the trouble. 4. So definitely get rid of that extra ball in the pocket. It's no good for anyone. I also don't think it's a good idea to step up in the tee, and think about bad shots. We want to try and visualise good shots, try and give ourselves a bit of confidence, try and imagine that good things are going to happen, and yes, it won't always give you a good shot, but your chances of a good shot become so much higher. So one ball only, start to visualise good shots, stop thinking about where the trouble is. Think about where you want your ball to go rather than where you don't want your ball to go. So there you have it. Stay tuned for way more videos on how we can start to reduce our score, whether that's scratch, single figure handicap, mid to high. This one's obviously for the mid to high handicap golfer, but it can apply to anyone. Using less lofted clubs around the green, we need a less lofted option that's easier to make contact. 2, starting to use 5 woods rather than 3 woods tend to be a lot easier, shorter shafts, more loft. Same goes for hybrids and long irons. Try and use less long irons and start to get hybrid replacements if they're clubs that you struggle with. It's going to make it so much easier to get contact, so much easier to get height on the ball, a steeper landing angle, and hit more greens. And then step 4, stop the 1 or 2 ball trick in your pocket, start to visualise what you want to do and what a good shot looks like, and stop thinking about where the trouble is. 4 simple tips that you can try out to hopefully reduce some of your scores. Stay tuned for way more in the coming weeks. We're going to release more videos on how to reduce your scores on the golf course. So make sure you stick around, like the video, subscribe to the channel, even click that notification bell so you know about it as soon as it comes out. And thanks for watching. Looking for a couple of freebies? There's a free practice guide below. We've got a free newsletter that you can click. And even if you want a lesson from me, there's a Skillest link that if you follow me on the Skillest app, you can send me your swings, you can get a video analysis and some feedback, all for free. Make sure you click that link down below if you would like some coaching from me and even more specific help to improve your game. Thanks again for watching and see you next time on the channel.